Cafe. Living out a bag till I got one, reaching for the stars. Then I caught one, borrowing the whip till I bought one. Gotta stay on track till I drop one. Now I'm on one till I'm all run. Thought I was a Paris song, but I'm not one. Only way to go is up. So I'll say, yeah, I'm headed for the top. Yeah, I'm headed for the top. Yeah, I'm headed for the top. So that's where you'll find me. Yeah, I'm headed for the top. Yeah, I'm headed for the top. Yeah, I'm headed for the top. So that's where you'll find me. Yeah, I'm headed for the top. Yeah, I'm headed for the top. Yeah, I'm headed for the top. So that's where you'll find me. Yeah, I'm headed for the top. Yeah, I'm headed for the top. Yeah, I'm headed for the top. That's where you'll find me.
Yes. Yes. All right. Spoiler alert, this is not my game of the year. I just want everyone to know that. I know everyone's expecting for this to be my game of the year. It's definitely not. But what this is, well, you already know what this is. It's your favorite commentator's favorite commentator, TitoKMF, the S-tier tyrant himself. That's me, bro. I only play S-tier in everything. S-tier team compositions, S-tier Pokemon, S-tier games, but it's still the #1 mediocre content creator on all platforms. You're welcome, by the way. Go ahead and follow me and subscribe and all that stuff real quick. I gotta get all that out the way because the algorithm does not fuck with anything your boy is doing. And more specifically, y'all need to run the subscriber number up and these views number up because I'm tired of Roger roasting me every time we go to Japan time, okay? I'm not McDareth. I'm different, but that's beside the point, all right? We are here to do a couple of things here. We got a lot of stuff to get into. We're going to do a tier list for all the characters and Sparks in Mario Rabbids, but more importantly, we're also going to give you guys, obviously, the unbiased, completely objective, 100% accurate review of Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope. We got a lot to get into, especially with these dorks up on YouTube and on Twitch over here, these goofy goobers, okay? But if you want to go ahead and join, you too could be roasting the YouTube viewers who didn't see this live. Go ahead and join my stream and join these idiots live on twitch.tv/TitoKMF. That's enough plugging. We got a lot to get into. Let's do the thing.
Do the thing!
Before we get into the actual review, I just want everyone to know this will be a spoiler-ish review. The game's done. Just under 24 hours in which we finished the game. So I'm going to be talking about a lot of parts of the game. I'm not going to get too into the story, even though the story's kind of like whatever anyway. But what I will say is that's your kind of mild spoiler warning because I am going to talk about characters in the game and kind of how they play. So yeah. Second, before we get into the review of the game as a whole, I do want to real quick give you guys a little bit of bonus content at the beginning, which is a tier list of all the different characters in Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope, kind of where I think they land, kind of highlights, lowlights, and that'll also feed into my overall review. So let's start with the tier list of first, the characters. So here we have a tier list of all the characters in Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope. This is going to be based off of my kind of idea of what they look like and also how they kind of play, how useful they are, how universal their gameplay is, how situational they are. So basically, are these characters good in every situation? Their damage output, obviously, and any utility they may or may not have. Good thing I do want to say about this game is that every character does feel unique. No two characters play the same. But with that said, some characters are just clearly better than others for almost the entirety of the game. And so let's get into it. We don't need this many tiers, actually, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm just going to give a couple of edits here. All right, so I think that's probably the best way to kind of break this down. King Rabbid, in the rotation, off the bench, and only play if you have to. There are some missions in this game that require you to play as certain members of the cast, so we're going to kind of lean into that a little bit and just say that. So we're going to start there. There are certain characters in this game that, in my opinion, you should only ever play if they make you. The first character is Edge. Edge is dog shit, okay? Edge is the original character, the OC for this game. This character sucks, okay? The whole gimmick is that she slides all around the place. But the thing is, she's so late game in terms of the fact that she needs a lot of her abilities to actually be able to do the thing she's good at. she justifies, quote unquote, a lot of the Lumas in the game. All the sliding Lumas or sparks in the game basically are only for her, and all the sliding kind of sparks are trash. Like, all of them are trash. So there's not a single one that's good. So given the fact that the gimmick is trash, the sparks that support the gimmick are also trash, her primary weapon, her sword toss, does do a good amount of damage. It is multi-hit. It's pretty good, but she has pretty low movement and no other real utility outside of that. She's basically just a sliding damage bot that's just a bunch of line AoE. She's just not good. There are other characters who do what she does infinitely better, and the only reason why you would ever play this character is if you have to. So this character sucks, don't pick it. So the character who's off the bench, who you can play, but you probably shouldn't really ever play unless you have to, is Bowser. Bowser also kind of sucks. Bowser is like your AoE explosive character, but he doesn't really do a lot of the things as well as he should, in my opinion. He does a lot of AoE with his primary fire. His main weapon is really, really good, the rocket launcher. But like, other than that, his jump does a bunch of damage, which is kind of cool, but like also kind of weird because he's not really a bruiser either. He has high base HP, but he doesn't even have the highest base HP in the game. His Mecha Koopa is the best part of his ability, of like his whole kit. But even then, it's kind of like underwhelming. It's cool, but it's whatever. You can use him and is really a niche pick. He's not unplayable by any stretch of imagination, but it's just not as good. Another character coming off the bench is going to be Peach. Regular Peach. I think regular Peach actually is really, really good. She's actually going to be timed with another character I'll talk about in a second. But regular Peach is basically your shotgun character that's really long range. But the most broken thing about her is her ability. Gives you stacks of invincibility that kind of scale as you put more points into it. So you can take 1 hit for free, 2 hits for free, 3 hits for free, and then they kind of regen based off. If you get a kill on a unit, she gets a stack. It's really cool. That's really cool. However, she's just kind of outclassed by the other support unit in the game, unfortunately. But she does do more damage. But it's just not enough. She is tied, however, with Rabbid Luigi. Rabbid Luigi is pretty good. He's really situational, though. The reason why he's coming off the bench, though, is that he's really good in certain types of really important, crucial story missions, especially when you're killing a lot of the eyes. He's really good there. Other than that, he's the really only other unit that actually can apply status debuff to multiple enemies reliably, which is why he's really, really good. The debuff is crazy, but it's the second best debuff in the game, and it's just one of those things where, it's okay. His damage output is kind of poor. But he's applying debuffs in terms of damage. He's sliding. He gets 2 slides. His slide applies the exhaust. So that's pretty cool. It's kind of like your debuff character, status ailment character. So if you wanted to lean into that gameplay, absolutely go for it. It's just his range is a little low because of the fact that he can bounce, and you got to get a little bit creative. So he is one of the more unique characters, but he's just not the most useful. Which brings me to the other character that is coming off the bench. The final character is Mario. Mario with the twin pistols, twin Glocks, pop, pop. He is really high damage. Not in particularly, he's actually probably realistically top 4 or 5 damage out of all these characters on the higher end. He has multiple shots, so the multi-hit is good. He's the only character in the entire game who can apply, who has like almost a 360-degree range with his primary attack, because he can shoot one thing in front of him and then shoot one thing directly behind him. So that's really, really, really good. Unfortunately, his like hero sight ability is just a worse version of Luigi's. And although he is the jump man, which is really, really cool, the stomp mechanic kind of sucks because it forces you to be at a close range when Mario likes to be kind of at the mid-range. So unless you plan on picking up kills with it on lesser units, it's not really useful, especially against bosses later in the game. It just kind of sucks. High damage, great utility in the terms of the fact that he can do 360-degree damage. But other than that, he's splashable. The reason why you could play him throughout the entirety of the game. So he's definitely, hey, I want to mix it up a little bit. I want to try something else. Slap in Mario into your team composition. It's going to be fine. All right. So let's talk about the 4 best characters in the game. These are definitely in order. I struggled with this a lot. Absolutely. I struggled with this a lot. in terms of how I want to order these top 4 characters. To me, it's not even close. I think these are the 4 best characters in the game. Rabbid Mario, Luigi, Rabbid Peach, and Rabbid Rosalina. I do not think it's close. However, I will say we're going to start with Luigi. The reason why we're starting with Luigi is a couple of things. Although he has probably the highest damage output out of any other characters in the game, given the fact that he has a 100% crit when he's shooting from an elevated space, he has one of the absolute craziest abilities in terms of being able to use the hero sight, or what's called his Steely sight, to hit multiple times on targets that seem broken and very far away. He can just snipe them. Unfortunately for him, all he does is damage. There's no real utility outside of that for Luigi. He is specifically the highest DPS character in the game, but all of it practically is single target. His Steely sight, although it does get a 2-round cooldown, still, and he gets multiple charges, still a single target. And other than that, in terms of cover, he's not very good in cover, and he is kind of more map dependent than the other characters in the game, especially in the top 4. When he's on elevated kind of maps where there's rooftops or something you can jump on, he's one of the best characters in the game. You should definitely pick him. But if it's kind of all of a flat area where there's a lot of cover, and there are a lot of those levels in the game, unfortunately, he's not that great, especially against characters that can really get up close really easily. Specifically against a lot of the heavies in the game that kind of close in on you as you hit them. Luigi's really good against them because they move, and he can apply his Steely sight. But at the same time, because of kind of what he does, he ended up actually being my summoner towards the end of the game. He was almost exclusively using summoning sparks. He was using the debuff spark and the sniper spark. The reason being is that if your Steely sight's on cooldown, you don't really have anything else to do. So other than shoot something as far as you can. So Luigi's there. Which brings us to the top 3. If Luigi's going to be number 4, Rabbid Rosalina is going to be number 3, the 3rd best character in the game. This character is busted, okay? Character is absolutely insane, can destroy cover, is basically guaranteed damage on anything in the game. It's multiple hits, so multiple chances for crit. That's why we really stress that, the ability to crit multiple times. So really insane damage output, and the absolute best hero ability in the game by far. The ability to kind of put that sleep in a huge AoE for 2 turns, not let anybody go do anything or move or nothing around you, is broken. Okay? Essentially, you don't have to fight any of the ads when you're fighting boss fights. You could just put Rabbid Rosalina over there, have her use the AoE, have her run back, and then do damage only on the boss, and the other kind of smaller minions just kind of have to sit there. That's exactly how I did the final boss. I played the whole game on the hardest difficulty, and Rabbid Rosalina was on my team for literally 90% of the game. She's broken. She can almost use practically any spark. She has good movement, so the slide sparks are okay. Obviously, she does a bunch of damage, so you can use anything like the fire or the water sparks, so splash or fire. The vamp spark, obviously, for self-heal, but also a lot of the utility ones, the invisible one, or even some of the, the get off me one, or the close in, if you want to have everybody close in onto Rabbid Rosalina and then have her use her hero sight. So she's just really, really good. So if you've been following my stream, you already know where this is going. Let's talk about Rabbid Peach, 2nd best character of the game. She's the healer. She is the absolute best spark user in the entire game. Things like the revive became really handy. She has a crazy heal that's stupid long range. And additionally, the other spark can kind of be whatever. For me, it was Seer, the invisible one, to guarantee that I get my heals off and she's able to roam inside of those the evil sites that a lot of the sniper units were using later in the game. And her damage output, if you put some stacks into it, actually does a decent amount of damage. She's good at picking off units, and her slide does a decent amount of damage as well. So she's just all around crazy. She's literally the most splashable unit in the game. She's good in literally every scenario. There's not a single level or map in this game where Rabbid Peach is not good, which you can't say for literally any other character in the game. Even Rabbid Mario, who is, as you guys can see, the best character in the game, has a few instances, depending on the map, where he's actually not that good. And that's only because of a range thing. The Rabbid Rosalina, you can use literally the entirety of the game. She never left my team at any point unless the game was like, you got to play with these 2 characters. So she's broken. She's the 2nd best character of the game. But Rabbid Mario is the best character in the game. Has some of the most reliable damage in the game, and it's the highest damage in the game because it ignores cover. Stupid high HP pool. is able to essentially face tank a lot of the characters in the game. Has the hero sight ability, which is okay. It's okay. And you can kind of customize that and put points through if you want. But 5 hits on his primary fire. Ignores cover. Massive amounts of damage. Can hit multiple enemies. In addition to all of that, his slide is AoE. He gets 2 slides. His movement is decent. His jump speed is decent. Like we said, his HP is crazy stupid high. There is literally nothing this character can't do. This character can literally 1v whole board the entirety, some of the challenges, especially in the mid game. Sometimes you just don't even have to do anything with your other people, your other units. You just throw Rabbids Mario at him, and then he will do the rest. This character is insane. In terms of spark usage, you can literally put any spark on this character and it will be good, especially any of the damage ones, because they're just going to make him better. Regen I found to be very, very broken on Rabbids Mario. I found that also other ones like the vamp damage, because he gets the AoE like kind of life steal effect, but also splash. Basically any of the elemental damages are really, really good on him. It's just a broken character. Literally you can play this character in 99.9% of situations. Not the most splashable because again the range is a problem, but you don't even feel the kind of the lack of the range. So this is my list for the best characters in Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope. Let's go ahead and quickly move over to the LUMAs. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the Sparks. We're not going to rank the Beepo ones because they don't count. Obviously, they're not really gameplay related in terms of combat. So we're really almost exclusively going to talk about the ones you get throughout the course of the game, including not only the story Sparks, but also the optional ones you can get through each of the 5 worlds. So let's go ahead and talk about them real quick, using these based off of kind of not only my experience, but also how splashable they are, utility, and then how good they are and how practical they are throughout the entirety of the game, or at least when they're unlocked. So we have a lot of these quakes. The quakes actually aren't that bad. They're okay. I never use them. All the quakes are kind of decent. Like, I don't think any of the quakes are particularly bad. They're just not necessarily splashable. That's the issue. This is another quake, and then this is the other one, right? And then here's the other one. The quakes are kind of the AoE around you and around the unit. These kind of storms are kind of like the AoEs. These are actually a lot better because they're ranged and you don't have to be around anyone. So I would actually say these are pretty good. So I'm going to put these up here. I'm going to actually change this to pretty good. Unfortunately, a lot of the slides are kind of trash, so I'm actually just going to move a lot of the slides to, like, I guess. And now we're just kind of go down the line real quick. This is the damage reduction one. This one's pretty good. I really like this one. This actually one is pretty decent. You can actually probably stay with you the whole game, especially when you level it up. It's like 25 or 30% damage reduction. It's really good, especially early game. You get it from Edge, the first world. It's very good. So all of the elemental ones, some are better than others. Some of the elementals are more common than others. Here's the thing, right? There are certain ones that are just always very good. For example, Vamp is very good because it's lifesteal and it's health, as well as Electric is also pretty good. A lot of things aren't really resistant to Electric at all in the game until like way later, if any. So this will pretty much carry you throughout the whole game once you get it. Everything else is actually pretty decent. The fire one's pretty good. It's pretty situational. Gust is okay. This is the buff spark, which I think is pretty good. The one that gives you kind of AoE damage to everything. This can be the thing that kind of finishes a fight, which is why it's pretty good. The ice one's also okay. The res actually should be a lot better. It's clutch, but I'm going to say it's at the top of decent, actually. It's not pretty good, to be honest, especially if you're doing a heal thing. It's like comp dependent, right? So if you're running Rabbids Peach, you shouldn't really need this if you're playing correctly. So I'll put it at the bottom of really good. But also, it's the AoE for the res, because you can res multiple things at once, is pretty small, so it's not as good. You have the ones that are bring everyone in and then kick everyone out. Both of these are not very good, to be honest. These are kind of trash. I kind of get it. They're just not as good as practice, mainly also because they don't necessarily 100% lead to any damage or utility. It would be different if there was a melee character in the game that wasn't shooty shoot, but all the characters are shooty shoot. Even Edge, who has a sword, she throws it. So it would be better if there was like a proper melee character, but there's not. So unfortunate. Regen is broken. Regenacy, you heal every turn a portion of your health. It goes up to like 30 or 40%. It's crazy. It's free health. You just put it on your Rabid Mario and you literally face tank everything. Seer is also one of the best ones in the game just because it gives you invisible, nothing can touch you, nothing can target you. You just kind of walk around the map for free as much as you want. This one is the Reflect one, so if you hit me, then you take damage. This one's okay. It's decent. I'll actually put it up here. It's pretty good, especially early on in the game. You can put it on. It's a bunch of free damage. It's pretty good. I don't remember what this one is, to be honest. This looks like the water shot. The splash shot? It is. Because I don't see it here. So I'm going to put it there. Now we're getting into the final 5. The summons, basically. So this is the Donkey Kong AoE summon. This thing is trash. The reason why, but it's at the top of trash, is because you get a cool little Rabbid Kong animation where you see him and he's like, that's fun. That's cute. But otherwise, he's trash. I wish it was an actual summon where you summon Rabbids Kong. I don't care how long the cooldown would be. The cooldown could be until I beat the game. If I was able to summon Rabbids Kong, I would put it on my team every time. But I can't. This thing sucks. Anyway, now we're talking about the whistles. I believe this is the Wildcat one. The Wildcat is kind of bad, actually. The Wildcat's pretty trash. This one is actually pretty decent. This one's actually decent, I think. The reason why, because it's range. It does do a lot of damage. You just get it really late. So actually, I'm gonna put this in I guess. Like, it's fine. This one is actually, I think, the best summon in the game. This is the one that summons the Oozer. Not only does it do poison damage, but it also disables either an attack or an ability. This one's actually pretty good. It's the best summon in the game. It's pretty good. Take it or leave it if you want. If you have like an extra spark slot, it's pretty good. This is the Squash It one, the one that summons like the big ass rabbit. I never use this one, mainly because I think this one is trash. It's a displacement one, but no, it's kind of trash. So the 3 best Lumas in the game, or sparks in the game, are Regenacy, Seer, and the AoE damage debuff. As you guys can see, there's a reason why these particular things are pretty high up there. The reason being that they help you stay alive. For you to be able to reliably get more damage off and kill the things. If you can stay alive in this game, it's actually more important than actually doing damage because all of the characters eventually do damage. You just gotta stay alive. So, in summary, let's talk about Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope. We're gonna be using the scale that I always use. We're gonna be using the scale of buy it now, buy it whenever, and never buy it. That's how we rate games here. For example, Marvel Spider-Man is a buy it now. Gotham Knights for me was a buy it whenever, just to give you some examples. Again, it has more to do with the fact that where do I think this is a good use of your time and money? Because again, I think that's better than giving it a grade. Enough of that, here's my verdict. Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope, gameplay-wise, is an improvement on every single aspect of the original Mario Rabbids kind of crossover game that took place a couple of years ago. Gameplay-wise, it's more dynamic, it's more interesting, it's more difficult, it's more challenging, it's more intricate. It's just gameplay-wise in terms of actual combat, it's a better game in every way from that perspective. The game looks as good as it does, as it did originally. There's not much in terms of kind of graphically a difference. The art style is the classic Nintendo art style, so if you like that, it's gonna look great. Story-wise, the stories for these kind of games are whatever anyway. You don't really play these games for the stories, although this game did try to have a plot. Unfortunately, the telegraphed kind of plot of Cursa and Rosalina was kind of whatever, but I get it. It's a Nintendo game. Don't expect much. What I will say though, some of the negative points of the game are the fact that the game has voice acting. Now, you might be thinking, Tito, how can voice acting be a negative? Well, let me show you. Here's some clips, okay, of some of the voice acting and some of the dialogue that took place where only 1 or 2 characters are talking and everyone else is kind of talking in not real sentences. Watch. Look at this.
Atmospheric scans indicate that its temperature has plummeted.
Polar bear swim.
Stay put, Rabbid Luigi.
Wow.
You see what I mean? You see what I mean? It's weird, okay? Beepo and Genie are voiced entirely throughout the whole game, and every other character in the game who is like a rabbid uses like the first 3 words or a key word in their sentence for when they speak. None of the other characters really talk. During all the cutscenes, all the rabbits are doing like the Animal Crossing, like they're doing that. However, in the actual gameplay, when they're in combat, they all have these kind of funny, kind of one-trick lines that are actually pretty funny. A lot of them are really charming. Rabbid Mario is one of the funniest characters, if not the funniest character in the game. He says a bunch of really just random, like Italian phrases. And it's very funny.
Hey, mamma mia!
But if that was it, the game wouldn't suffer as much. Unfortunately, the fact that they decided to have half-ass voice acting in a lot of the game kind of actually brought down the experience for me overall. It became kind of not fun to listen to and read cutscenes. I would have rather it kind of either be the gibberish for everyone or nobody have voice acting and just kind of be grunts and stuff like that. But the gameplay itself, never mind the lack of multiplayer, because, you know, Shofu got away again, but that's beside the point. The game overall is a fantastic game, I think, in terms of gameplay. It was around 20 hours or so, 20 to 25 hours of gameplay, and I took my time. I'm going to give this game a buy it whenever. Buy it whenever. Whenever you want to pick up the game. Nintendo games don't really go on sale like that. So if you like the first Mario Rabbids, I would definitely play this because it's one of the things where it's just a better experience in terms of gameplay. Everything else you can kind of just ignore. And there will be DLC, which is great. However, there are some things that are kind of holding this back from being a game that you absolutely have to own on the Nintendo Switch. So pick it up whenever. It is definitely worth your time. It's a relatively good-sized game. I played it on the hardest difficulty. There's no reason why this game cannot be played on the hardest difficulty. It was just challenging enough for it to keep my attention and actually cause me to actually think a little bit. I think if I didn't play on the hardest difficulty, it would have seemed a little bit trivial, to be honest. But regardless, buy it whenever. And that's my review for Mario Rabbids and the Sparks of Hope. Thank you guys for watching all of this stuff. And if you guys want to get locked into any more content with your favorite commentator, TitoKMF, you already know where to go. TitoKMF on all platforms, on Spotify, on Twitch, on YouTube, on The Corner, selling mixtapes. I'm not outside. Anyway, I'll see you out here on these cyber streets or not. Now, get out of here. Go do the dishes. Go. Go. Go.